The kick landed without warning, sharp and humiliating, sending a metal tray skidding across the sunlit marble floor and a grown man staggering backward as if the ground itself had betrayed him. In that bright, expensive restaurant filled with daytime chatter and clinking glasses, no one noticed the quiet sound that mattered most. The sound of a father's dignity cracking under a stranger's shoe. If you believe that kindness, second chances, and unseen strength still exist in this world, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Spark, because stories like this remind us that every human being carries a story far deeper than what the eye can see. The man on the floor was named Elias Morin, a single father who worked double shifts as a waiter in a high-end coastal restaurant where sunlight poured through tall glass windows and painted the tables gold. Elias was 36, with tired eyes and a posture shaped by responsibility. Every morning he packed lunches, tied shoelaces, and promised his daughter that one day things would be easier. Then he put on a pressed uniform, hid the ache in his joints, and served people who never looked at his face. That day had started like any other, with Elias cycling to work under a clear blue sky, thinking about school fees, rent, and whether he could afford a birthday cake that weekend. The millionaire who kicked him was Grant Hollister, a man whose name carried weight in financial circles and whose presence filled rooms with quiet fear. Grant arrived at the restaurant with entitlement trailing behind him like a shadow. He was the kind of man who believed money was proof of worth and that respect was something others owed him automatically. When his lunch order was delayed by a simple kitchen mistake, irritation curdled into rage. Elias approached the table calmly, apologizing, trying to steady the situation the way he always did, but something about his quiet composure only fueled Grant's arrogance. In a moment that stunned the entire room, Grant stood up and lashed out with his foot, striking Elias in the ribs and sending him crashing to the floor. The restaurant fell silent, sunlight still pouring in, the clock still ticking, life continuing as if cruelty were ordinary. Elias lay there for a second, breath knocked from his lungs, memories flashing through his mind not of anger but of his daughter's face, of promises made, of the need to keep his job no matter what. He pushed himself up slowly, apologizing again even as his side burned, because survival sometimes meant swallowing pride. What no one in that room knew was that Elias Morin had once been someone else entirely. Years earlier, before loss reshaped his life, he had been a disciplined fighter trained in multiple combat arts, a man whose hands were registered weapons, whose reflexes were lethal when unleashed. He had walked away from that world after a tragedy took his wife, choosing peace over power, fatherhood over fury. He buried that part of himself because violence had already taken enough. Now, as he stood there bruised and humiliated, every instinct screamed back to life. But he forced it down, choosing restraint even as whispers spread through the room. Grant sneered, basking in the silence, believing he had proven his dominance. He threw cash onto the table as if money could erase cruelty and strutted toward the exit, unaware that his actions had triggered a chain of events far beyond his control. The restaurant manager rushed to Elias, offering hollow apologies and quiet warnings about keeping the peace. Elias nodded, straightened his uniform, and returned to work, because that was what fathers did when the world kicked them. They stood back up. But the story did not end there. Outside, in the bright afternoon light, a small crowd had gathered. Someone had recorded the incident on their phone, the clip spreading faster than anyone could imagine. The internet has a strange sense of justice, and within hours, the video ignited outrage. People saw not just a waiter being assaulted, but a system that allowed power to abuse humility without consequence. Comments poured in, questions were asked, and the name Elias Morin began to surface alongside something else. Whispers of a past no one expected. A former training partner recognized him instantly and shared a piece of forgotten history. Elias had once been undefeated in underground circuits, respected even by professionals for his control and discipline. He was known not for brutality, but for stopping fights before they became deadly. The revelation stunned viewers. The man who chose not to fight back was not weak, he was strong enough to choose mercy. That truth shifted the narrative entirely. Grant Hollister woke up the next morning to consequences he had never faced before. Sponsors withdrew, board members demanded explanations, and public condemnation grew louder by the hour. His carefully polished image cracked under the weight of a single impulsive act. The same money that once shielded him now could not buy silence. Every screen replayed the moment, every article questioned his character, and for the first time, Grant felt small. Meanwhile, Elias returned home that evening under a warm afternoon sky fading into sunset, carrying more than physical pain. His daughter noticed the bruise he tried to hide and hugged him tighter than usual. In that embrace, something shifted. Elias realized that protecting her future did not always mean enduring injustice quietly. Sometimes it meant standing tall so she could learn what dignity looked like. The restaurant, pressured by public scrutiny, offered Elias compensation and a promotion meant to smooth things over. He accepted neither immediately. Instead, he took a day off,